Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. You feeling particularly rich? Do hope so, because the cost of independence has been announced, and it's a lot more than you think, and rising, because the figure that they're quoting is for a period of time in which the most recent spending is much, much higher than the earlier spending, and it's unlikely that's ever going to reduce, since they've already announced a 12% increase this year. And so millions upon millions of pounds are being wasted on an independence dream that can not ever happen because the SNP government do not have the authority to do it. So why are they wasting millions of your money on dreams for their own benefit? Dreams that will never come true. Of course, these are wet dreams by nationalists. They're very expensive wet dreams, aren't they? We'll take a look at the numbers, we'll take a look at the breakdown, and we'll see why this figure is probably lower than what they're saying, but also going to increase quite significantly over the next 2.5 years. Because what else have they got? Here goes. So the SNP has spent allegedly £3.5 million of your money chasing their Scexit dream, as the true figure is laid bare. But I'm going to suggest that that figure is a lot less than what has actually been spent. And you'll see why, I think, as we go through it. And you'll also see why it's going to be ever increasing. Because early days spent less, nowadays much more, and they're not reducing that budget. Right, Alibaba has been told to end the spend on constitutional division and instead focus on the issues that matter to people in Scotland. And we've already done reports today on the thousands dying in A&E waiting rooms because they can't be bothered to spend the money on saving people's lives, not while there's nice glossy brochures to print. The SNP has spent almost £3.5 million of taxpayer money on Scexit dreams, new analysis has shown. The nationalist government, which recently announced huge public service cuts, has used the cash to produce nationalist propaganda, mount legal challenges and divert civil service resources, according to critics. Money that would be better spent front-facing, dealing with problems, helping people, is put onto a minority party political interest, not governmental. And of course, we're going to look now at numbers, and trust me, it's going to be way more than £3.5 million. The figure was unearthed by campaign group Scotland in Union and includes the period since the last Scottish election in 2021. It analysed freedom of information requests and parliamentary questions to uncover the huge sums involved. It puts the total bill at £3.44 million between September 21, when Nicola Sturgeon outlined her programme for government, and December this year. Scotland in Union warns the true figure could be even higher. They warn it could be. I'm going to suggest it most undoubtedly is much, much bigger than this £3.5 million that they're quoting now. They say that this is because the Scottish Government does not provide detailed breakdowns or tell anything approaching the truth, of course. There's an awful lot of money that's hidden, shady, moved, creatively accounted for. The money included £1.39 million in salary costs last year for the team of over 20 civil servants to work in the Constitutional Futures Division. A salary, of course, that will increase next year and will not reduce because they're not closing it. It wasn't there the first 2 years. It was last year. And so ongoing, that is going to be a massive uplift in staff costs. They're working. They are civil servants. They're not supposed to be working on the breakup of the United Kingdom because the civil servants come under the auspices of Westminster. That's where the civil service is run from, and so should be barred from working on any constitutional matter unless explicitly told to by Westminster. So that should stop immediately. More than £150,000 has been spent on the SNP's policy papers for independence. That's those nice, shiny brochures. But of course, £150,000 is only the sort of the creation costs on them. How much for the printing costs? That won't be cheap either, but of course they'll put that through as a general expense in printing rather than anything specific and earmarked. So there again, another massive cost to be added onto that 3.5 million. It says here, nearly 70,000 has been spent on the creation of the Minister for Independence post, held by Jamie Hebben. 70,000 for the creation. So 100,000, 120,000 a year ongoing cost as a ministerial salary, which again comes out of salaries at government level, not specifically assigned to what the cost of independence is. So you got his £120,000 a year. Scotland in Union Chief Executive Pamela Nash branded the spend an obscene waste of taxpayers' money. And she added, when the housing budget is being slashed, the NHS is in chaos, and families and businesses alike are desperate for economic growth. Diverting public resources to the SNP's divisive campaign is unforgivable, especially as it is party political, not government, not wanted by the people of Scotland. And I think it'll be closer to double the cost. It must be closer to 7 million than 3.5 by the time everything else is added in. And of course, this is a growing cost. Like I say, Shona Robinson has already committed a further 12% increase in real terms this year for independence, while cutting every other area of spending. It's criminal, surely. Civil servants and ministers should be focused, she says, on what really matters to people. And in 2024, the SNP must end its spend on this constitutional obsession and govern for all the people of Scotland, not just the mad ones who vote for them. And the figures come amidst a backdrop of anger over the SNP's use of impartial civil servants to push their separatist agenda. And Lord Foulkes has already been leading the charge at Westminster, urging the UK government to rein in the spending. They can make it illegal. They can tell the civil servants, if you want to work on constitutional affairs, you want to work on independence, you must resign from the civil service to do so. Otherwise, it's a firing matter. Let me tell you what will happen then. I think you already know. Anyway, just last week, Permanent Secretary John Paul Marks was forced to claim his staff had not done anything wrong, even though they had, after the Scottish Government's social media accounts were accused of promoting SNP propaganda, including false claims about Scotland's NHS budget being cut in the UK Government's autumn statement, which we know and have covered is a load of absolute horseshit. But then what else do you expect from the SNP and the SNP civil service? God help whoever comes in afterwards, they're going to have to absolutely rip the civil service apart, because it is another wing of the Third Reich of the SNP, isn't it? In response, Independence Minister Jamie Hebben said the Scottish Government is committed to giving the people of Scotland the right to choose their own future, which they have, and they said union, and which every poll, more or less every poll ever since, has said union. And that's only because they had the yes vote. And if you turned it into independence or union vote, it would be more union than ever. And of course, they don't have this. They're trying to spin the argument. They're trying to turn everything into independence. And they'll never get it. And even if they did, it would be the end of Scotland. And everybody knows it. And when the majority of their own supporters don't want independence, it makes you wonder, what is the point? Apart from wasting all that money and allowing people to die languishing in waiting lists. Anyway, I shall stop there, round off, and come up and consider why they insist on spending your money for their party political wet dreams. Okay. It's the same old, isn't it? Waste, waste, waste. Spend money where it isn't needed. Don't spend it where it is needed. Better to have shiny brochures than people alive. And then they try and say, oh, but the people of Scotland want it. If the people of Scotland truly wanted it, they would have had it. But they didn't. And they don't. And you don't have the power to give it. So let's cut all spending on independence. If you want to spend it as a party, go ahead. But any government spending must be made illegal. And then start jailing them. And start firing civil servants. Nothing concentrates the mind of a civil servant like the impending firing, losing the job. Oh, that brings them to heel. You just put a bit of stick about, make them jump. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that's been entertaining. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.